It is Friday, February 10th. Yeah, February 10th. All right, cool. Hope everyone's doing good. And we are going to kind of dive right into some things. I think this is going to be a really good episode because we're actually going to change gears a bit. A lot of our internal meetings that we have kind of sparks some good things to discuss with you all each week. And this is actually going to be a little more about lead generation. I know it's going to been heavy e-commerce. And I know that e-commerce is, a lot of what people, a lot of people out there in Google land do. But lead generation is a completely different animal. And we just got off of a 2-hour internal meeting where we just went through kind of all of the ins and outs of lead generation. And I wanted to share with you a couple case studies that I would like to kind of preference as why a CRM tool is more important than Google Ads information inside of a lead generation account. So a CRM tool like HubSpot, for example, I'm a big proponent of Go High Level and HubSpot. I like those two a lot. I just happen to have more clients that are on HubSpot than Go High Level, so that's going to be the examples I'll be sharing with you all today. But some things to consider when doing lead generation is if you're an agency that is not going past, or let's say a freelancer or even a company that's using Google Ads data in order to judge the efficacy of the campaign for your lead generation accounts, you're probably only seeing a quarter of the story. Only about 25% of what you're seeing inside of Google is directionally accurate. Hey, Arms of Andes. Hey, Joe. How are you guys doing? This is actually an interesting topic because I think that a lot of you do lead generation out there. I've had questions. I've had comments on YouTube that say things like, now, if it was a lead generation, what do you do? So bidding strategies, all that kind of stuff. What's interesting is positioning is everything for lead generation campaigns. I truly mean that. Positioning and your form, and then tracking what happens. Those are all things that I think are much more important than even tracking a lead inside of Google. Sounds stupid. It really does. But I had a unique use case where we had a client that, and I'm just going to share screen. This will be really just a fun educational video this week here. But you'll see, I'll share screen here and check this out. Is that gonna, yeah, okay, sorry, I'm not used to restream here. Here we go. So check this out. I have one campaign. Let's just go August 2021 to August 2022. So August 2021 to August 2022. Actually, let's just do July 23rd. I spent 28 grand. I didn't track a conversion. Not one conversion was tracked in this entire account. What I was doing, though, is during this time period, I made a couple, 2 bidding changes, 5 budget, some access. I didn't make any ad. I didn't make any conversions. I added a few negative keywords. So I was, pretty much this entire year, I wasn't really doing much, just kind of pausing keywords. So what I was doing, though, is I had access to the CRM. And I know every single type of lead that would come through. And I know exactly what was happening with every single one of their deals. And I was making my adjustments based on what is actually closing and what's actually a good quality lead. And then from that information, going back into the campaigns and making adjustments. Now, I had a 7% conversion rate. I had a great positioning here. I was using, obviously, you can tell, pure broad with target cost per acquisition. But in the back end of this client's site here, what I track most often is the only thing that really matters is what is the closed deals. So if I look at just like last year, for example, I spent 48K and I made this company, I spent 48K, I made this company $2.35 million in just Google Ads. You can see it all to my one little campaign. Pure broad target cost per acquisition, 24K and $2.3 million in revenue off of 16 deals. This is why the CRM tool is much more valuable. You're able to track more than what you're just simply getting as a click. Google for lead generation will say, yes, this person Googled this and they entered themselves as a lead. Good. Is the search term relevant? A lot of them weren't. A lot of the big deals that I made were on keywords that they didn't even want. I just couldn't see that we were generating the leads for the keywords that they didn't want because they weren't showing up in Google, and the keywords that were buying them the actual conversions were not the first click. So I want to go through this just quickly for you all to see how you actually use a CRM tool and how you're actually managing the Google Ads campaign in order to have a very good. Do this. Well, my audio seems a little funny. Sorry about this one. Let me just check audio. Does audio sound good? Dave, the topic for today is how to measure your lead generation campaigns in a CRM rather than Google Ads, because sometimes I wasn't even measuring Google Ads performance because I couldn't. One reason why I couldn't track conversions, they had a bad web developer and they kept the username and password hidden from them. So I was running a campaign without being able to install conversion tracking. So fun stuff though. Still being able to 5,000 ROAS this company in a year was pretty fun. So I know that I had $6 cost per lead. That's what I was knowing. What I did is I just hooked up the ads integration in HubSpot to Google Ads, and that told me what Google Ads couldn't do. And then I made adjustment based off the deals. So here's what I mean is I couldn't tell the search terms very well, what they were looking at. If you look at the search terms that we were actually getting, there was some like tough shed and big buildings direct and absolute steel and barn dominiums and building in a box and quads and hut century building. They were all over the place. All over the place. There were just so many random things. Modular, ecosystems, no idea. Couldn't see anything. And so that's what was really interesting is what I did though, is looking in the back end, hey, where are my deals coming from? I have 16 deals. And these 16 deals, when you're using good integrations, what you have to first see is the activity of these deals. So I know that Vance Boyles, for example, this person here spent 79 grand with us last year in August. And I could look at the ads activity and see that they typed in RV carport. Good. That's my signal of what keyword was working that brought us a deal. And that's what started, was where was the leads being generated and what was the activity of them being generated? And how do I tie that back to optimizations I need to make in my Google Ads campaign? So I could care less that I got 17 clicks on 17 random things. When it popped a deal, I started whittling down. And I went from about 200 keywords down to 2 because of this. So each one that I look at, I would go into the actual deal itself. This one made $250,000. And they closed a building. Tons of activity, so I know that the person that types in this keyword here is going to be good. I look at the form submission, and they typed in steel garage, and steel garage, good, so steel garage. Okay, so now I know that this person had, I'm looking to get an estimate and time frame on a custom design for my personal property. Excellent. So good keyword and good lead. Kept doing this over and over and over again, just monitoring what was happening. Are they being responsive? Are they asking good questions? Is the form submission quality? And I'll go through that here next. What did they type in? Steel building. Aha. So I'm starting to see steel building, steel structure, metal building. So I'm starting to now identify what is working and what's not. So when I'm looking at my search keywords, you can see that throughout this entire time period, when I'm looking at the interactions, my cost, I spent the majority of my money on steel building, metal building. This is pretty much, when you're talking about 28K, only 200, 150, I spent the most amount of money on these 2 keywords. Why? These are the keywords that I wasn't tracking conversions, but I can see the back end that these are what people type in before they fill out the form. Before they fill out a form, when they do fill out a form, there was really good activity and good closed deals. Doesn't matter what the cost per click was, doesn't matter what the positioning was. I couldn't see any of that because Google Ads was hidden from me at the time. I was not tracking these sort of conversions. Once I started tracking conversions, then what I can see now too is the conversions that are now coming in here. When I start descending by conversions, steel building, metal building, all of a sudden conversion tracking popped in and said, yep, you're right. I didn't need to see the conversions in Google Ads. I used in the CRM tool a reverse engineered version of what the quality leads were coming from that was actually making me the most amount of money. And now when you see myself well diversified, I spent $2,000 here on prefab buildings. Why is there $2,000 on prefab buildings? That was my most recent closed deal that happened last month. So that's what's kind of interesting, is you don't necessarily want or need to look at Google in order to know what optimizations you could make. Well, device, doesn't matter. Which click are you counting on which device? The first, second, 12th, or 19th click potentially before they convert. You can do where they first start. Yeah, that's okay. But when you're looking at kind of high ticket items and long sales cycles, you need to develop what is the what's actually happening and whittle it down to what you can see is really working the best. And out of the 2.5 years, I've only had like kind of the last, like 6 months of activity that I can actually really, or 5 months of activity that I can actually really track. And what we're looking at inside the back end is something that was really, really simple. Now, why go broad on high ticket items with long sales cycles with very odd search terms? Why go broad? This is going to be a difference of opinion than everyone else. Going broad means that you are able to elevate the barrier to entry and be able to only generate custom leads, or not custom, only generate quality leads off of a kind of a high quality form. For example, if you're typing in bar and dominium, or if you're typing in steel structure or RV carport or metal building, if I can see the lead quality, then it's more about the user than the actual keyword, because broad's going to get millions of search terms. It really will. That was the crazy part about this is I can see here my search terms. My search terms since August to this year, I have 30,000 search terms. It's not necessarily about keyword, but if I can pump them through this form where you have to tell me your first name, last name, city, state, region, phone number, email, the building, city, the width, the length, the height of the building you want to build, and then how did you hear about us before you contact me, I can use broad. Because if I'm using email, phone number, well, I have 10 leads, 9 are irrelevant. Why? Well, they really weren't interested in a metal building. Okay, well, how do we make sure they're interested in a metal building? Well, why don't we have them tell us what metal building they want to actually build before they contact us? Kind of a novel idea. You'll see this on the homepage of our Solutions 8 website, where you have to type in, are you currently running Google Ads? Are you managing it yourself? What site are you using traffic tool? How much are you spending per month? Are you managing it or as an agent? You have to fill out a really kind of crappy form before you get in contact. But when a form comes in, I can see that this is a really good quality form, and then test it. Don't just believe that, well, if they fill it out, it must be good. No, look at it. If I look at the deal size, actually, I think this one here. So this person said, hey, I'm in Phoenix, I'm in Maricopa, I'm in Arizona, I'm in Phoenix again, because that's a building and that's where he lives. My first name is Junior. How'd you hear about us? Google. Last name is Sandoval. I have a 50-foot by 50-foot building that I want, and by 16-foot height building that I want to build. Great. And we sold it to you for $105,000, closed one. Each person that comes in and fills out a really lengthy form is going to be a quality lead. They have to basically type in like, don't know. I mean, you're not going to get too much spam. You will, especially burning PMax. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But if you're really going to Google, typing in relevant keywords and coming in and filling out a 12 required field form, all the other fields here too, they're not skipping them. I just want to make sure that I can prove that it was actually me. A little bit of self-serving there, by the way. But that's what's nice about this is you can run broad, but you can dictate your lead quality by what you make them do. Not every time, give it time and make sure that you have some relevant keywords and make sure that your service offering is good and you're having a relevant audience. Obviously, you can't just like blanket the entire world and say, and still remain smart about it, but also still make sure that you're producing the leads that are being dropped off at your client's front door are at least quality to the point where their sales team can look at this thing and be like, wow, this is a great lead. I know exactly what they're interested in. I can pick up the phone and be like, hey, that 50-foot building that you want to build, we actually can get started on next. It helps them. What's nice about this too is if I'm generating leads or you're generating leads or having the type of leads that are coming out, filling out those really, really crazy long forms, and it's costing you $60 each. Beautiful. It's a $60 lead that are filling out a really, really crazy form. And this isn't just on this one client. This is every lead generation client that we have. We sort of recommend having a longer form because you're going to weed out the spam. And as Dave says, because they're bots, right? People that are going to fill out like the phone number and email are majority bots. They're autofills. No one's going to be able to autofill the length, width, and height of the building that they want to build. It's not something that they spam other companies with. Sometimes they just get lazy and they go away. Now, it also helps that this is a local campaign. It's just in the state of Arizona. So that did help here is I was able to, make sure that my targeting is really relevant. And maybe you find success in a nationwide campaign by doing geo-targeting of only major metropolitan areas and hitting 80% of the country's population. You can absolutely do that. That's a really good way to make sure you're weeding out of the country's spam, because you're not targeting the entire United States, and then Google's not targeting people that are living in countries that spam other countries that have an interest in Oklahoma. Maybe that's not a state that you're targeting. But the way that lead generation works is you always want to make sure that you're looking at the forms that are coming in. Are they a quality lead? If I was my client, would I be happy? Are they actually at a good cost per lead? Am I actually getting the cost per deals? Am I making a lot more money than I'm spending? Just good old-fashioned marketing. And then look at the other areas. We use a tool called call tracking metrics. And in call tracking metrics, no matter who your client is, I'm listening to every single phone call and making sure that if you didn't answer the last 3 phone calls, we're paying $200 a lead sometimes. Why aren't you answering? Or if we have people that are getting good phone calls that are coming in, then they're leaving a good voicemail, we let them know, hey, you had a person call February 6th at 3:30. They typed in Cisco third party. They're on your website. It came from the branded terms category, and they left them in an 18-second voicemail. By the way, here's their information. They live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. This is all something that an owner, you missed a call, this is where they were sort of interested, and they want to talk to you about that. Beautiful. They pay full-time assistants more than your Google Ads fee to have this included. So this is all the stuff that we look at as well. You want to make sure that you're not only just tracking, did they click a button and call you? Did they call last longer than 60 seconds? Who cares? I have irrelevant calls that last longer than 60 seconds. This person called and talked to us for 2 minutes and 29 seconds. And what they needed, we didn't offer that as a service. This is a client of ours. They didn't offer it as a service. So that was not a lead. Google doesn't count that as leads. Why? Because we didn't count it as a lead. So when you see a lead inside of Google, that's a real lead. Verify it. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, I said, I had 27 phone calls today and I didn't sell anything. And we're doing an evaluation of their account. It's like, yes, it's because they were all calls from ads. They weren't actually even on your website, and they were Googling your broad-based terms, and they were looking for cat condos, and you sell dog food. Who knows? Make sure that the traffic that you're driving is verified. It's not just simply something that you said, well, we got conversion in Google, it must be your fault. Let's say you're right, you're still fired. Make sure that all the stuff that you're generating as quality is verified on your end. If you say that you dropped a lead off at the doors, say you dropped a lead off. Not, I got a call. I don't know if it was real. And then chats. Chats are a really good way to look at something too. When you're looking at chats, make sure that they're coming into a good area. Make sure that they're dropping into the CRM tool. Make sure that the chat leads that you're following, this here, make sure it's coming from your UTM campaigns. So go through and verify these. On the services page, they came from Google. When you view the chats transcript, I'm looking for a vendor who can set up an existing nonprofit in 6 additional states. Beautiful, beautiful lead that came in. I know exactly where they came from, and I can tell you that that's a really good conversation that they had. So buy everything. Don't just necessarily look and say, I got a lead. No, I generated a lead here that says I'm looking for a CPA firm to help our 4 restaurants. Yes, that's good. I can contact that client and say, hey, that client, the lead that called you yesterday, or the chat that called yesterday, chat that chatted yesterday that had the 4 restaurants is looking for a CPA firm. Did you guys close them? A lot of times the leads are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Let me talk to the sales team. So you know more about these leads than they do, but you can test and verify that. That is something that I think is missing out of today's Google Ads or any agency. Is they drop the lead off at the front door, they go, your problem now. Don't drop a lead off unless you can tell the client it's real. I can stand behind it. I do quality work and I can prove it. So I'll pause here and just go through some chats here. Let's see here. We're an e-commerce clothing brand. Sorry, Arms, man. All of a sudden I do lead generation today, and you're like, hey, we're an e-commerce brand. We're an e-commerce clothing brand selling to a niche market with LTV customers. Our strategy is PMax for marketing with branded keywords and standard search, shopping, and YouTube for cold traffic with no branded keywords. Can Performance Max campaign bring cold traffic and we remove our own data from your audience signals? Yes, it can. I couldn't tell you without actually digging in how much is actually cold traffic or not, how much is remarketing traffic, how much is where the original source came from. It can, absolutely, absolutely. And it can do a really good job, especially if it's the only thing that you're marketing for or marketing with. So let's say it's just PMax and nothing else. We can absolutely do it. We scaled up many companies on PMax. Just because you might have LTV clients doesn't mean that there isn't new in there. You need to use a third-party attribution tool, or at least verify one by one via UTM parameters to the best of your abilities that are not direct and organic in email, that those are new customers that have been coming from that campaign. And then just make sure your search categories are at least as much as you can non-brand cold traffic. If you can look at your search categories and say, yes, I do see that there is conversions coming through. There is some brand in there. It doesn't mean that it's not the first click, though. It could mean that it's their seventh click. It just kept getting remarketed through PMax. And that's why PMax does a really good job at attributing sales to itself. Just make sure that if you can scale it, it scales. If it doesn't scale, then something's wrong. And when I say scale, don't be like, hey, I doubled the budget in the week it sucked. Like, give it 3 or 4 months at a slow burn scale up. It can absolutely do it. It can do it really, really well. Using your data is really good. Putting a brand negative in there does help. Make sure you run a brand campaign though in addition to it, but it can absolutely do it. I've had campaigns that rock cold traffic at 2,500 ROAS, and then I have campaigns that can't get over a 1 with its own traffic. It's so situational, but just that it will try not to if it has a high ROAS on LTV type clients, and those people are still people that are converting not through email, just by trying to naturally navigate back to yourself, because PMax will own your brand name there. Does PMax also work on the search network? Our PMax is working very well, but we have no clue as to where the conversions within our PMax campaign are coming from. You are the greatest of all time of SEO. Thanks. I hope that was SEM, by the way. SEOs. I'm just joking. No, but I appreciate it. So TCAS, yes. So here's the thing. There's an odd paradigm between agencies and clients here that I think is sometimes good, sometimes bad. PMax will generate amazing leads. PMax will also generate horrific leads at the same time. PMax will count them as leads. Now, if you're the one that's looking at those leads and you don't have to essentially answer for some Google sins to anybody else but yourself, yeah, it can work really, really well. Just know that if you get 20 leads, sometimes 5 are good, sometimes 15 are good, but you're going to get some spam in there. Now, it's hard for an agency like me to say, hey, client, we spent $47,000 this month. We generated 500 leads, 250 were complete junk. Just ignore those. Like, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Tell the sales team when you see a lead come in, immediately know if it's good or not, and then you'll be all right. I can't do that. I can't mix spam with good and then send the client a bill. It's dishonest, especially when I just talked about lead generation, which is how to identify quality. So we don't use PMax for lead generation most of the time. There's some exceptions, obviously, to every rule. And those lead generations are sometimes we'll generate 10 leads a week, half are good and half are bad. 5 spam and 5 good is enough for a client to say, that's okay. Like, we're fine. We can deal with 5 spammy leads a week. That's not a problem. It's when you're getting up to 300K a month and you're generating 1,000 leads and 600 are bad, they're not going to pay you to fill up your sales team's email with 600 junk leads, work for free. Those sales teams will quit immediately because the company that they're working for sends them junk leads. That's a good way to implode a company from the inside out. So just know that that's a thing. But yes, it can absolutely. One way to help over the course of a long period of time, a few months, is to import those leads that are closed back into Google as a different conversion action and count them as primary. So if you have, let's say, 10 leads, 5 are good, 5 are bad, and you take the 5 good quality leads, you pump it back in under quality lead as conversion action. That's primary that PMax is tracking. Now PMax has 10 good, 5 bad. And it's going to start to see that those 10 good are the same person because you're counting 2 different conversion actions off the same G-CLID, fine. But it's going to start to help it shift over to where it's good. Problem is it takes a long time and a good amount of leads for Google to kind of steer the gigantic cruise ship in the other direction. It's slow. It has ad inertia. As soon as you start forcing it, then it's like, then it starts to move. It takes a while to get that momentum working. Months sometimes. So just know that you can feed it in good quality leads and it will get better and better and better. But if you're serious about investing in PMax long term, that's definitely a must-have that you would do. Joan, two PMax campaigns, one with all products excludes $30 SKUs, and one that includes $30 SKU but excludes $55 SKUs. This is how you properly separate products for two separate PMax campaigns. Don't want to cross. Don't want to cross. I guess they don't want to like cross pollinate. Here's the thing, Joan, is what you're going to have to identify is for the non-brand search terms that are generating those two different SKUs, what SKU is being generated in what campaign based off of that search term. So for example, I have a $30 SKU and a $60 SKU. Let's just call it a bottle of wine and two bottles of wine. I'm just going to use a stupid example. If I type in, best wine order online, if the two shows up and not the one, your campaigns didn't do anything differently than if they were together. They're two completely different SKUs for sure, but price does not dictate what ad gets shows. Just one could be $1 billion, one could be a penny. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one's going to show. So the difference in SKUs is going to tell me how much that those campaigns are separating them. Or because what happens by default, if those two SKUs can show up for the same search term, Google's simply just going to allow the campaign that has better performance to win. And it kind of starts to hurt the other campaign. So the other campaign starts getting more brand conversions. Well, what happens when you Google a non-brand keyword, you click on the high SKU, you Google a brand keyword, then click on the low SKU. Now the high SKU is selling the low SKU products and vice versa. So that's where you'll have to think about, they're not separate. Google is going to show the same audiences, same ads to the same people with the similar search terms. Just because they're two different campaigns, all you're doing is saying who has money left over to capture the return traffic wins. One campaign has better performance to get the cold traffic first, wins. It's not going to be as separate as potentially may seem because Google says, these two people or two SKUs are close enough related for that search term. You can have a dance shoe, you can have a Nike sneaker. If I type in most comfortable shoe, even playing field. Can Performance Max campaign bring cold traffic if we remove our own data? Oh, we already did that one there. Thoughts on tracking conversions for every step of the funnel? But I would actually not. I would only track the last step of the funnel. My heavy opinion. I actually have a good use case for this. Let me just give you a quick example here. I'm going to pull this up because a lot of people will fight me on this one. I'm okay. To each their own. I just never had the tracking all conversions work better. Oh, let me just give me 2 minutes. I'm going to set this up because I think that this is an important, especially for lead generation. This is a lead generation campaign that I'm going to share with you. We did, and what we did before. I'll do this here. Pardon my slow Google Ads account today. Please hold. I need to have some elevator music that I can play. Wait for me. All right. Here we go. Now, let's do this. Okay, dokie. Data here, so please bear with me, but this is important. This is a company that we generate high quality leads for very, very expensive outdoor kitchens. And what I'm looking for is February to February compared to the previous period. And we spent a lot of money. We increased our cost from 150 grand to 1.1 million. And what I did, and you'll see here that the YouTube campaign that I'm running right now is only tracking, out of everything, only tracking design tool submissions. I did this back in like March of this last year. Why? Well, when I increased my campaign by $1 million, and I look at my all conversions down the bottom for the entire account, what happened? Well, my account here took my design tool submissions and went from 3,000 design tool and 4 counting catalogs as primary because they never actually went to a close. They were looky-loos. So after I stopped converting that and I only counted design tool and I put $1 million more into it, my design tools, I still got them, but I got 48% less design tools and I got 265 more design tool submissions. Sorry, product catalogs, I got 265% more design tool submissions. So what you're seeing here is a difference of $1 million added to our campaigns. And the conversion action I didn't want went down by 48%. And the conversion action I did want went up 265%. And all I did, I just added money. That was the only thing I did. I added money and I turned off the product or the product catalog that I did not want. And then I took this thing and scaled it. So when you're looking at the conversions and the cost, and you go back to, I think what we started was November. All I did was go from here and scale up cost and conversions. And I halved the bad conversions and tripled or quadrupled, whatever it was, the good conversions. So hopefully that helps you say, like, would you count them all? Sure, if you want them all. If you do not want them, do not count them, please. Google is a dumb machine when it comes to conversion tracking. If you say, I want this irrelevant conversion action, they will hunt through millions of psychographic and demographic profiles to spend your hard-earned money to find it. If you do not want them, don't tell Google to find it. That's all it is. It's just a machine that's trying to make a number get bigger. That's it. So don't try to make the number you don't want get bigger. Very simple. John, I know some of your videos, Google Ads is no longer on high levels help docs. Are you guys no longer using Go High Level? No, we do. It's just at a different company now. Dave, I'll have to see if I can kind of figure out how to get that over to you. It's a different company now, so there's some internal kind of restructuring there a little bit. Joe says the PMax is heavy in search and display. Will it ever go to shopping or will it stay in search display? Not really. And the longer it goes, the worse it gets. Here's why. When you're talking about PMax and you're talking about just start with me here, let's clear our mind. We'll start fresh. We've never touched Google Ads before. Google has never seen your company. All brand new. First month comes in. We get 10 buyers off of shopping. Nailed it. Second month, we get 9 off of buyers. Sorry, 9 off of shopping and 1 off of display. Why? Remarketed some organic traffic. Okay. What was the cost per conversion on that? $2. Well, they spent $100. It's a fantastic ROAS. Month 3, we get 8 off of shopping and 2 off of display. Why? Well, the people that are coming into shopping are not buying and they take a little bit of time to remarket and display starts to work well. That happens more and more over time, especially if you have people that are Googling your brand or you have other people that are coming to your website outside of Google that Google is remarketing and calling it their own. Why? Because Google's a dumb machine. It only sees what it does. So if it says I show display and I get purchase, great. It's going to show more display and get more purchase. Who's feeding all of that new traffic to your website, though? Potentially Facebook or organic or Google. But it starts to see, because it misses conversions, that the last click that happens so much is display. And then what happens was, as things get harder, more competitive, it starts to it goes like a little more recluse. And it says, well, if I just show up on search for these keywords, brand, if I only show these display ads to these people, remarketed, I will have the best ROAS. And then it locks itself into that. And you say, well, give me more of that. And it says, is there any more brand or any more new traffic? No, then I'm not going to do anything. I'll stay right here. So that's how the ever progression of PMax happened. Why? Because the bidding that you can choose is maximize conversions. That's it. I'll search impression share. You can't ask it to not get conversions. So it will rabbit hole itself immediately. From day one, it will figure out ways to rabbit hole itself to the cheapest cost per conversion that has the least amount of effort, the shortest time path, and the highest value. And that is most often your remarketing and your good return traffic. If you don't have that, it won't do that. It won't. If you're like, hey, no, Google is my brand name and I don't really have a lot of customers, it won't do that until you do. And that does. Hopefully that helps. Cool. I have one more question. When you starting standard search and shopping campaigns, do we need to wait 6 weeks to see results like PMax? Not really. My opinion is if you're I like using low T-ROAS campaigns or low TCPA or high TCPA goals for search and for shopping. So usually within about 3 to 4 days, you start to see some good results. It doesn't take 6 weeks. PMax is a full funnel and then it tries every single different campaign, and that's why it takes so long. Imagine if you're on search, shopping, YouTube, GSP, discover, display, and I don't know, have a remarketing audience. That's 1 week to optimize each one. Well, if you're like, I'm only on shopping, about a week. It's 1 1 6. Usually that's kind of the general rule of thumb. John, switching my bathing suit and gymnastics e-com sites over to standard shopping. So far, no conversions in a week. Any tip? Now, no conversions in Google or no conversions on your website. Okay, that's the challenge, I would say. In that standard shopping campaigns for a week, if a couple things are happening. What's your attribution model? If it's first click, for example, you may not see it for potentially 1 or 2 weeks because you're making sales, you're spending money, searches look good, your website's making sales, but first click says, yeah, but all these people I hit on PMax before a week ago, and first click attribution is going to give it all back to PMax. My opinion, if you're going to switch it over to standard shopping, use last click. I know it sounds stupid, but use last click. Reason being is that if your standard shopping campaigns actually take over to a very similar audience than you were on PMax, or last click will say all of that is actually driven towards Google Ads or standard shopping. That will attribute it properly to the campaigns. If you're on data driven, depends on if they had 5 clicks on standard shopping and then or just 5 clicks on PMax. It may not count it inside of standard shopping. I've proven to you all that I had 12 sales that came in through standard shopping the first 2 weeks. I made $5,000 off of 500. Google said I made 0 sales because it was just not tracking for like 12 days. So I had to use Northbeam to actually prove that out. And I think, Dave, I think it was on LinkedIn. It was called Why Google Ads Conversion Tracking Sucks. I actually have a real video that shows that real time, saying standard shopping to direct, standard shopping to 2 searches. I prove that everything came off of standard shopping. Google Ads says, nope, nothing by click, nothing by time for 5 days straight. So that doesn't surprise me. That's why I don't look at Google Ads conversion tracking. It's very poor. But if you're making website sales still, is it coming back as direct? Is it coming back organically? Do they sign up for an email? So all that stuff that Google is going to miss, just double check that there. James, how do you see and validate new versus returning customers if you don't have Northbeam? I don't know how to do that, actually. I really don't. I mean, unless I go one by one, but then I have to rely on UTM parameters, and those are only 60% accurate. So I don't actually have a way. I'm sorry. Shopping, max clicks, no limiters. Campaign doing very well. Observation with 26 audience. I copied campaign from another skew that's $20 more in the same category. It's not spending budget and it sucks. So on shopping, max clicks, okay, doing very well. When you say doing very well, I would say with 26 audiences and observation. Okay, so you got a max click shopping campaign that's doing good. Copied campaign for another skew that's $20 more in the same category but not spending. Okay, yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is Google is going to say what is the search term and what product is doing well. It's just going to ignore it if it's in the same category. Like I said, if you have a high heel and you have a slipper and someone Googles shoe, and Google says, I better give that shoe to the high heel because that is a campaign that that's a product that usually does better. But yeah, so that's why I actually like starting off with one big shopping campaign with all products and then sees what sells. Some products just simply won't sell. That's okay. I'm okay with that. If it's like, hey, you have 2 products and Google likes this product more, I have to convince the client to lose money to try to test the other product, and both of us and the clients are like, that's okay. We're fine making the money the way we are, unless we have to. Thoughts on Bard? Yeah, I know, because the name getting more lame. It's too early for ads, my opinion, for me to tell. Same thing with like Bing doing ChatGPT. I don't know how that will equate to ads yet. I know Bards is going to be helpful, and I know that it's a really cool, fun, sexy tool. How that is going to affect the ads ecosystem positively for Google or for Bing, I don't know yet. That's the crazy part, is how is it going to actually affect Google? Are keyword searches going to be no longer relevant? No, I think it kind of takes over the organic path that people used to take. So people used to go to Google and be like, what is the best shoe for hiking? And then you see 10 blogs. And then I say, okay, I need the Hike Master 6000. And they go to Google and they have Hike Master 6000 and shopping. There's like And okay, so is that going to change? Maybe not. Maybe Google's going to say, based on other viewers like you, the Hype Master 6000 is a great one. Here are some ads. Okay, cool. Do I still show up for Hype Master 6000? That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work yet. I'm super excited though, but I don't know how. Back to my PMax exclusion question. There are two different type of products in the same gifting category. Valentine's Day gift should trigger both products. No. Well, it should, but will Google? No. Especially if your bidding strategy and your attribution model are dictating what has the best one. So, Joe, I can't answer this here because what you're going to have to say is, I know that when people Google this search term, these products are good. For example, check this out. I know that I have 2,000 SKUs that can show up for the same keyword. Let's say best hammock. That's my client. That's my client there. That's my client there. That's my client there. That's my client. That's my client. That's my client. I have 2,000 more that I need to go through. That's my client there. Now, I have 2,000 SKUs. Why aren't all 2,000 showing up? Well, this one rocks. This one is crushing it. $3,000 hammock. It is rocking and rolling. I want a lot of other impressions, but Google's like, yeah, this hammock. All right, here's 7 of the SKUs. Why? Well, these 7 SKUs work. What about the one that doesn't work? It doesn't work because I'm not giving it any impressions. How do I make it work? Make sure it works better than the ones that are working now. Well, how do I do that? Pause the one that are working, and then we'll give it time. That's the problem. Is inside of, like, let's say a shopping campaign or anything that's going to be inbound cold traffic, Google is going to latch onto what is going to work. If a keyword can show up to a million different search terms that match closely to the same product category, the default that wins is what is already working. Just because you give Google money doesn't mean it's going to ignore the maximized conversion bidding strategy you have set up the product that they are already maximizing the conversions for. It's not going to stop maximizing conversions. You asked it to not stop. So that's the thing. It depends on the bidding strategy. It depends on the attribution model. That's what is going to dictate if it's going to win or not. Anyone else stuck at 720 for the quality? I don't know. Sorry, Dave. Dave, if someone picks up the phone in your house, does your internet cut out? I'm just kidding. Cool, Joe. I made an asset group for the other product in the same gifting category. PMax gave all the impressions to the main SKU, so I put the new product in its own PMax. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you're going to stop showing up, Joe, for the other product. That's the problem. That's the thing that you're going to have to stop, and it's hard to do that. It's just not going to happen. Google's going to stick to it. Decaz, I know you always say to run PMax search without a CPA, but we seem to do very well with the low CPA and hitting our target. We sell jewelry. Should we take off the TCPA to scale? No, not necessarily. You have to find what is working. I know what, I'll give you a cool example here. So I just did it this morning. Anyway, this should work. It'd be fine. Excuse me. I like this stuff. So check this out. Here's a company that's running a PMax campaign. Been running for a while, doing really well. Yippee skippy. You'll see PMax, and I actually have a T-ROAS on. Now, for clarity, I inherited this scenario, and I went in and fixed it a bit. So just know that this is not all me. This is actually going to go back to standard shopping, and you'll see why. So I spent 30 grand this last month, made 186,000. Yippee skippy, I made a 6.15 ROAS. Cool. The 6.15 ROAS has been met because I do have some brand in there, and I have a T-ROAS of 400%. Can this scale? Yeah, absolutely. I asked for a 400. It's getting a 600. I can go up to $2,000 a day, and I'm only going to drop my ROAS by 0.79. So a 6.5 will go down to a 5.8. What's my target? 4. Will it scale? Absolutely. Will it go any higher than 2,000? Probably not. So what you're looking at is the delta of the goal and the actual results, and you'll find your money. I want 500 ROAS. What am I getting? I'm getting 1,000. Can I double it? Sure. What will that ROAS go down to? 800. Can I double it again? Sure. What does the ROAS go down to? 500. Can I double it again? No. You've ran out of known available audience. How do you find more? Turn off the requesting only the available audience, means TCPA, T-ROAS. Once you do do that, Google says, all right, I'm going to go after these people. Do you know if they're going to buy or not? Nope. Did Google do the same thing people did before? Yep. Okay, buy them. And then you're at scale. So just know that your T-ROAS, if you say I'm meeting budget and I can scale, you will scale because you're here. You set the goal here. Where is this goal here specifically? No one knows. It's somewhere up here. And as soon as you hit that, I keep scaling and it says, oh, my T-ROAS dropped and I can't scale any further. You can wait sometimes 2 months. And then all of a sudden your ceiling magically rises. Why? Because Google knows more about these audiences at the higher level spend. Now it can go up again. So it's a finicky thing, but T-ROAS is a restricted category. It says only spend this amount of money if you know these people are going to convert. Well, is there some returning and is there some brand in there? That's going to not scale very well. But that could be the reason why you're hitting that goal. So hopefully that works. Back to the Max Click shopping question. Says Joe, the product sells on PMax because of remarketing, TikTok, and Facebook traffic, but not shopping. I wanted cold traffic from shopping. I guess Google said nah. Standard shopping, my friend. You fell into the PMax trap. It's doing good because it's not doing its own work. So that's the problem there. Is that campaign will not scale. And when you say, hey, go find me new traffic for this other product, that says, well, I don't know what that other product even was. I just found the people that are coming from that source likes it, so I'm hitting those people with ads. Go find me new. Cool. Got any more of those TikTok people? That's what Google's doing. Dave says, only cell phones at my house, buddy guy. That's so funny. Me too, actually. I don't even know anybody that has a home phone anymore. My wife was like, hey, we should get a home phone for emergencies. I was like, so that thing that bolts to the wall? I don't get that one. We have a cell phone and an iPad and a computer all within like 6 feet of us. We want to bolt something to the wall in case for emergencies. That's fun stuff. All right, so we're about 14 minutes left over. So I think we see if there's any other questions. Oh, there we go. So Joe says, I would have thought shopping would have higher success rate than PMax. Potentially. I guess Google doesn't want me to replicate my success from one campaign. Here's the thing is because things are so generic, if you have, let's say, 2 dresses, you're not realistically, you're not going to be able to force ads on one dress versus the other if they're similar dresses. It just won't happen. You have to stick both those dresses in a campaign and try to max out that campaign. That's what will happen is you'll run out of available audience for one product, and then Google will have to show that other product more often, and then it will try to scale up. Separating them out, ask Google. Here's what you're asking Google to do if they're in similar categories. Stop giving good quality traffic to what's working and meeting the bidding strategy. And go over to this other product you don't have any idea about, please. It's not going to do it. You can set it on manual, reduce budgets, and then start a different campaign and outbid what's working, but all you're doing is shifting the audience. You're not expanding more, if that makes sense. If a prior website visitor is remarketed to YouTube, isn't the skippable in-stream video view that follows 1, easiest, 2, the quickest to acquire, 3, efficient, and 4, most telltale signal of the user's tendency to convert? Yes. I almost primarily use in-stream skippables because I'm using an automated bidding strategy. I don't really like CPV. I don't really like placements. I don't. I'm gonna drink the Kool-Aid. The Kool-Aid. That's cool. I'll drink the Kool-Aid. Google Kool-Aid. But I really do like automated bidding strategies in a stream skippable. If I get a view rate, it means I watched longer than 30 seconds. They didn't skip. Bingo. If I get a click-through rate, it means they watched longer than 30 seconds, didn't skip, and clicked. Bingo. If I force someone to watch a 15-second non-skippable, what do I know happened to that person? If they watched a 15-second non-skippable, do they like it? They click, not really. Do they convert? Probably not. I don't really know much. Now, if I have a real finite audience, like let's say I took the last 6 months of my purchasers that have not purchased again, and I upload them to YouTube, and I did a sequence of thank you for your purchase. Check out the new products. It will also give you a discount, a 3-video sequence. Perfect use case. I'm not using in-stream skippable technically. I mean, I guess I kind of am, but I'm building out a sequence But that would be the reason why I would go off of automated bidding, is because I know that these people need to see this video, this students at this time for these products. Perfect. If you're like, hey, I don't really know what this audience is or if it's any good, let automation help. Make your choices dictated by what is the activity when they watch it. When you give people free will, you buy the ability to see if they like it or not. That's why I like Instagram Simple. Will turning off PMax and running shopping only change anything or just hurt my business? Will turning off PMax and running shopping only change anything? I'm not sure what that means. I can't tell you if it's going to hurt the business or force cold traffic instead of remarketing. Joe, here's what I would do. It's worth it to you to spend the $350 or $500, whatever you're going to have to spend to buy Northbeam. I absolutely 100% believe it. It will answer all of your questions, the things that no one can, that I can't answer. Here's what I mean. I'm going to go to a company that I have at Northbeam that I stopped doing remarketing for. I stopped PMax and I stopped remarketing. So let me share with you this information here. This is the last $285,000 in sales. We have only done Google ads. Is Northbeam $500 for unlimited accounts or just one? Is per account, Dave. But here's for example, is when you analyze what happens when running Performance Max or not running Performance Max, and you run standard and you run remarketing and don't run remarketing, and you study your conversion path, it will set you 10 times ahead of what questions anybody can answer. Here's what I mean. Here's $36,000 worth of purchases down to $2,000. What I know here is that when this person is ready to buy or these people are ready to buy, go direct, and organic on Bing. Whoa, nailed it. And then a direct 19 times, direct 4 times, direct 3 times, direct 8 times, direct 5 times, direct 7 times, direct 2 times, direct 2 times, direct 4 times. Organic, probably a brand. Organic, probably a brand search again. A organic, direct, a direct. Cool. So we have a lot of directs. If I run remarketing, will I see more directs? If I run remarketing, will I get more remarketing clicks? If yes, then remarketing is good. If no, then remarketing isn't doing anything. What's the primary function of PMax? Cold traffic remarketing. Cool. Do you have a lot of returning customers? Yes, that don't do it. This company here, by the way, is a lot of returning customers. That's what we base our business off of. $12 first time sale, $4,000 average second time sale. That's this funnel. So what I'm doing is I'm not doing any remarketing because I know my secondary conversion is going to be $4,000. We're having a sales team physically call them to do that, but I want more first time $12 sales. So I'm looking at non-brand cold traffic 100% of the time. So that's where you have to look at is if you are going to remarket, how I would say this, Joe, right now, what is the most common last they convert? If you don't know, I can't help. I know that this is the area that people start and end most often, whether I'm running remarketing or not. Now you can say, well, yeah, but if they don't see your display ads, how will they go direct? That's absolutely right. I have no idea. So when I stopped doing PMax, when I made more new first-time customers and my cost per acquired new customer went down, I said that's pretty definitively. The remarketing wasn't doing anything. So that's the part two is unless you can tell me what is the last touch point that 80% of your sales come from, I will tell you if PMax is good or not. Cool. Saba, hey, would you recommend YouTube only for remarketing or for cold traffic too? B2B lead gen construction vertical. So I actually spend $5,000 a day on top of funnel cold YouTube traffic. Obviously, you can see I like YouTube. I'm going to be a little bit more I would say biased to YouTube as we're all here for that same reason. So I spend $5,000 per day on cold traffic YouTube because when people find out about us and they contact us, they are ready to go. The sales process is just, talk to them, we'll send a contract. It's fairly simple. Because they know us. They know what we know we're doing. They know what teaches. They know that we are, and I'm going to say this arrogantly, one of the best PPC agencies out there. Cool. whether you agree with that or not, I to each their own. That's what they think, and that's what they believe, and that's what they hire us. Is your audience on YouTube for lead gen for construction? Maybe not. I think what's going to happen most often in your sales process. Oh, thanks, Joe. Yeah, I think what most happened to Joe just took me $4. I appreciate that. I think what's going to happen in your sales process, though, my opinion, doing what I've been doing for this long, lead gen construction, my opinion is search first, YouTube only for remarketing. Reason why is because you're probably going to have an internal conversation that's going to happen at the point of, even before they get to a computer, of someone from a position of power going to someone who is in a position of decision making to say, find me 10 companies and go get RFQs out, or RFPs out, requests for proposals. I say, okay. What they do not do is go to YouTube and hope they see ads. What they do is they go and they start to Google something, and then they get a list of 4 or 5, and they send out the request for proposals, and then they have a sales conversation. During that sales conversation, though, after they contact you, or after they at least get to your website, they're getting hit with YouTube ads from you on Remarket. It says successful case studies, testimonials, our value proposition, our vision, our company story from last 25 years, why we're the best, what you can expect. You're getting hit from every angle, and they're waiting for the next week to talk to somebody after the RFP is being proposed, and you're just pounding them with all of your good information on YouTube remarketing. And if they contact you again, maybe you can exclude them. Maybe you have the exclude audience. My opinion is, once they find you, they're going to find you because they probably have something to get done. So they take action. People take action by going to Google and start looking. That's your sales process, I would imagine. And then if that sales process sounds right to you, your RFPs are going to come from an inbound demand, but they're going to come from positioning. So make sure you're at the top for your inbound searches. Run manual CPC, maybe eCPC, depending on how competitive it is. But I would run a manual on a phrase and exact search term at the top so that you could be one of the first ones considered in the RFP process. But during that, pound them on YouTube remarketing with amazing content that you would love to show them from the first time that you talk to them. By the way, watch the 6-minute video about why we're the best. You can break that up into 6 1-minute ads. That's my request. So, let me know if that sounds right to you. If in the lead gen construction vertical, I'm just guessing here because I have no idea what side you're on for lead gen. But let me know if that sounds about right for the sales process, and if that seems like a good strategy. Our brand is pretty heavy social, says Joe. It is a visual gifting product. I have 2 gifting companies. Valentine's Day is actually the biggest sale time of the year for that gifting company. I think that's why PMax is scooping all the warm traffic up from socials. Absolutely, is going to spike. One of the reasons why this company that I just shared with you here at Norpian, one of the reasons why we turned off PMax is because there's so much return traffic and warm traffic. I saw my campaign ultimately go to, I need $1,500 a day in spend. So that $1,500 a day would spend $200, $200, $200, $3,000, $200, $200, $2,000, $200, $200, and all of a sudden I would spike in these days in my ad spend, and the ad spend would only spike. Wait for these people to come back because they do reorders, or they would wait till something big would happen on Facebook, and then they would remarket it, because as soon as new traffic came to the site, they would go hunting. And all of a sudden, boom, my ad spend was spiking. I said, I'm just going to shut this off. It's not doing that because this one had a lot of return users. As soon as people would come back and make a $10,000 purchase, all of a sudden I'd spend $2,000. I'm like, just throwing money out the window. So I turned it off. I went pure standard shopping. And that actually just gives me a real nice heavy stream of new customers. And then those new customers will start to come back and they'll start to make purchases. You know what Google sees? Nothing, because they're not in that targeting. So I'm just going to develop a good stream of heavy new customers. All right. Someone says sounds good, Fitz. Nice. All right. We just did strategy development live on YouTube. That was fun. All right, everybody. I will see you next time. This is John Brown with Solutions 8. Good luck in your future.